Hello, welcome to week 2 of the Light of the World Challenge series. Hope you had a great week so far, reaching up in worship to God in heartfelt prayer every morning, every evening. And in just a minute, you'll get it discussed with your group how that all went for you. But before that, I want to give you just a few instructions on a couple of things for the rest of the course. First of all, let's go ahead and just address this totally hypothetical scenario in which someone maybe doesn't quite get the whole challenge done on time. And I'm sure you all are going to be diligent and eager to get each challenge fully completed during the week, and do strive for that. But, realistically, there's a chance someone might have a crazy week here and there, and you fall a bit behind. And if that happens, it's okay. It's not like you're going to get a giant incomplete written next to your name in big red letters. Just do your best to complete it and the next week, and then hopefully you'll just get back on track and get going with the group again. And hopefully also the discussion and the encouragement from the group meeting before here, where everyone shares their experience with doing that challenge, that'll inspire you to experience the challenge and get it done yourself. And that brings us then to the second item, which is the group discussion about how the previous challenge went. So in just a few moments, you'll pause the video and have that discussion. And for that, there's a PDF on the website that has a list of discussion starters. And that's just what those questions are. They're starters for a conversation. Follow them as loosely or as closely as you find to be most helpful for your group, so that you can get to know how the challenge went for everyone. And as you do, take your time with that and really enjoy and benefit from hearing each other's experience. I can guarantee you that you're not all going to have the same reaction and reflections from each of these challenges. But those differences, they're an opportunity to get a fuller picture of what it means to live these things out. And in your groups, you're going to have people from different ages and stages of life. People who have been a Christian for different lengths of time, and so forth. And everyone's going to bring a different perspective and really dive into that and what they're seeing that you might be missing. And sometimes, just by chance, people are going to have different experiences throughout the week. For example, in the trial group, even just in week 1, one of the group members actually got kind of sick, and they had a pretty bad stomach bug for a few days, but they were still doing their prayers during that time. And so they shared what it was like to be praying those prayers while they were sick. And that experience in that time, it was a bit different and meaningful from what everyone else had. And that's just one example from this challenge. But you might also learn as you discuss, you learn from the difficulties or even the failures in the challenges. Maybe you had a hard time remembering to actually do the prayers. Or maybe you would do the evening prayers, but then in the morning you'd forget. Right? Go ahead and share that. Nobody's here to judge you, and it's not like you're going to get a grade on how well you did these things, and and sharing the hardships or the failures. You might find someone else that maybe they had the same problem, and then maybe they figured out a little trick that solved it, and they can share that with you. But as much as you're comfortable with, share your experience, the good and the bad, the strengths, the weaknesses, and you'll find that to be a great way to really grow together. So then, without any further ado, go ahead, push pause, and open up the discussion questions from the Week 1 challenge. All right, so now it's time for the second challenge, reaching down in service to others. And to introduce this one, I want to take us to Matthew chapter 22, where a lawyer, he comes and asks Jesus, what's the greatest commandment? And Jesus says, it's this: you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. And you know what that is? It's worship. And that was the focus of our last challenge, reaching up in worship to God. But then Jesus continues by saying, and a second is like it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. And that brings us to the focus of this week, service. It goes like this, right? Love God, that's worship, and then love neighbor, that's service. And really, what service is it's taking the love that we have received from God and showing that same love to others. It's to say that God has shown his mercy and his love to me. So now I'm going to take that same mercy and show it to others. It's to say that I was the one in need. I was in slavery to sin. I was spiritually bankrupt. And the Son of God came down from heaven. He took on the flesh. He came to me. He gave himself up for me. He showed me his undeserved love. He cared about me. And so too, now I can go and show that same love to others. And as we do this, it's one of the strongest ways that God's love is manifested in this world. When they see a sign that says, hey, Jesus loves you, right? Okay, they're hearing about God's love. But when they see or experience a Christian acting in love and helping them or helping someone else, they're experiencing firsthand God's love. Service is how we manifest God's love in this world. And really, this is also how Jesus did it himself. It was his example. Throughout his earthly ministry, and when Jesus goes, he sees a crowd of people. He has compassion on them. He has these strong feelings of love in his heart. But it's not just feelings of love, but he cares for people. And so he acts. He heals the sick. He cares for the poor, lifts up the brokenhearted. And then there's even that great scene where Jesus, he goes around with a towel and a wash basin, and he washes his disciples' feet. He was a total servant. He said, I am among you as one who serves. His service and our service. It's all really, in a way, the same thing. It's putting God's love and mercy into action for the people around us. So then, that is your goal for this week, is to follow the command and the example of Jesus and to serve. And this week's challenge, it is one that our trial group reported, it was a little bit more challenging, but it was also very meaningful. It was actually tied for getting the most votes as the favorite challenge. And the challenge is this: Mercy Packs. One of the ministries of our church is to put together just these little sacks. They contain, some food items, some, maybe socks or other essentials, along with some pamphlets and such that share the gospel and give hope. And so every one of you are going to go and pick up one of these Mercy Packs. And then this week, you're going to go and serve your neighbor by just going out and giving it to someone who's in need. But you're not just going to go out and offer someone a Mercy Pack, but you're also going to offer to pray with them. You see, many people, they have so little to live on, but they have even less to live for. And so we want to serve people by offering not just material help, but also some encouragement and really showing the hope that they have in Jesus. Right? Remember that mercy, what it's all about. It's about showing God's love to people. And God's love is powerful. Because here's a reality check, right? The items in this pack, they're good, they're helpful, but they're not going to break it for someone. A couple granola bars and a pair of socks, it's not going to make a long-term difference. It's not. But God's love, that is powerful, and it does make a difference. So the socks, they might not create a huge change, but the fact that you cared enough to give them, the fact that you cared enough to pray with that person, to talk to them, to listen to them, the fact that you showed God's love to them, and that they know that someone cares. Now that's powerful, and that can make a meaningful difference. So with that in mind, I actually want to show you a few clips sharing some of the experiences from our trial group. And first we're going to have this from Christian.
For example, when we had this challenge to give something to the poor or the homeless and pray with them, at least the most interesting thing was a woman who obviously was in need, but she refused to take this mercy bag, but she was very pleased that I prayed for her.
Oh, good.
Yeah, it was interesting.
Now, wasn't that just a great example of the importance of prayer, right? It's a prayer. So the lady, she didn't really have a need for the physical mercy pack, but she was grateful for the prayer. And, even though she didn't end up taking the actual pack, she still very much received God's love. That's real service. Next, let's hear Anna share a similar experience.
I gave it to 2 different people in Arizona. And the first guy was like, well, I've gotten one of these before and stuff. And I was like, can I pray with you? And he's like, I actually gotta go. And so I was like, I was like, oh, this is what you get for waiting for the last minute.
That's
They don't even want. And we were in Sedona, which I don't think there's a ton of, like, you don't see it as much homelessness, but there was one guy that was like sitting on like the corner, and I just said like, my bag, and they stopped the car and they were like, what? And I said, hold on. And I jumped out and I said, like, and he was just a really nice guy. And like, I know, and it makes me feel like, because there's so many different people in that situation and you just don't know why, you know? And it's just, I think it's just so complex, and maybe that's what made me like, kind of be like, okay, this guy, and then be like, no, or this woman or this girl, and like, no. But yeah, he was just a really nice person, and he was almost more like, yeah, I'd love for you to pray for me. And the mercy packs were great because it's like, it's challenging me to like approach people in that way, to not just give the bags, but like to ask for prayer and realize like the people want that, even if they're not really sure what it means. They kind of like that sometimes. They're open. Yeah, exactly. And then.
Now, I love what Anna shared, how it is a similar experience, right? That people, they're open to prayer, like she said. They're open to God's love. And yes, one person, actually, they politely declined the prayer, but the other, they were very eager and happy for it. The prayer, it really is an important aspect here. And there is another important aspect that Anna brought up, which is that there are all sorts of people out there who we might think could use some help and might like a mercy pack and a prayer. And each one, they have a different story and background. They're all unique individuals, special creations of God. And some might be in a spot where they do appreciate the mercy pack and prayer, and others might not be. And one of the tricky parts of this is that you really don't know where an individual's at until you actually go up and talk to them. But don't worry about that and not knowing. Instead, just focus on what you're doing, which is just go show them respect and show them God's love. And it'll all be good from there. We have a great example of this, actually, from Laurel. And so we're going to play her experience right now.
I think the most challenge was to pass out the mercy packs and make sure you connect with someone. And the one guy I connected with is closer to my neighborhood, and because I was walking then every day, and I just introduced myself and said, would you like a mercy pack? And he said, okay. Then I said, well, can I pray for you? And he said, no. But I had already asked him his name, and I said to myself, I can pray for him silently. He doesn't have to know that I'm praying for him out loud.
I like that.
That's what I said. I said, oh, I can still pray for him. That's no big deal. So, and I too try to remember Will in my prayers.
Very good.
So I think that was the best challenge, was to give out the mercy packs.
Yeah.
I agree.
Now, did you notice Laurel's focus throughout her whole recollection of that encounter? Right? She talked about establishing the relationship and about really connecting to this guy. And, it turns out he wasn't all too interested. But what did Laurel do? She respected that politely. She walked away too, right? And she continued to show love for the guy by praying for him, even by herself, even though that love was unseen by him. What a beautiful image of God's relentless love, right? That's what she did. She showed God's love. So now, then, it's your turn to put God's love into action through service. All right. So for all of you who are meeting at church, you're going to go ahead and pick up one of these mercy packs from right inside the fellowship hall. And for those of you meeting outside of the church, your host should already have them there for you. This week, then, you'll go out and find an opportunity to share it with someone and to pray with them. And most of all, to really show them God's love. And live as the light of the world, because you are the light of the world.